We are recording. All right, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Oregon City Arts Commission. This is a special meeting. This is a strategic planning retreat for our Arts Commission. And this is the second half of our strategic planning retreat, so I'm excited. I think we had a good conversation last time. Looking forward to our conversation tonight. James, you want to go through our roll call, please?
Sure. For the official record, we'll call the roll. Logo.
Here.
Mary Andrews.
Here.
John Planton.
Here.
Jim Woodward.
Here.
Linda Jones.
Here.
Tammy Jo Wilson.
Here.
Ann Berry. Here. Emma Carlson. And I'm going to miss one. And Andrew.
Here.
Four.
All righty. Well, again, welcome everybody, and I'm just really looking forward to tonight's space. I do want to take a moment to thank the Willamette Falls Media Center for hosting us tonight. I think this is a super space, and there's, I think, opportunity for collaboration between this commission and this nonprofit as you plan things, or people in the arts community that want to take advantage of the resources here. So I'm happy to be here. I'm going to go over what I'm mapping out for tonight, our agenda. So I want to spend about half an hour or so going back to that vision conversation that we started last week. We have had a lot of rich suggestions, so that I want to come to a consensus on where we think what we're going to state as the vision for the Arts Commission. Then I want to spend a good chunk of it, like taking our goals for the next 2 years, for 2022, 2023. What do you all want to accomplish? I can point you guys on on Zoom. What should be the goals for the Arts Commission? And then, we're probably going to we're going to throw all kinds of spaghetti at the wall. And that's what we should be doing in a retreat, in a planning retreat. That's what you should be doing. Like think big, think. So that's what we'll do in the first initial visioning of the goals. Then we got to prioritize them. All the things we want to accomplish, what are we going to focus on in the next 2 years? So then we'll spend another half hour prioritizing the goals. I'm glad you suggested a sticky exercise. I brought my little sticky note. Everybody will get a chance to vote on what they think should be. And we'll see how many we come up with. I'm thinking if we come up with 4, 5, maybe 4, but we'll see what the right number is and what feels right to you. Are there questions about what we want to try to do tonight? All right. So again, feel free to, time, raise. This is not we don't have to be super formal. And in front of you, so we came up with a couple of different, so I've got 4 draft visions on this piece of paper in front of you. And some of you have sent in comments this week. What is the vision for the Oregon City Arts Commission? I want you to take a look at the 4 that are listed here. And I want you to take your highlighter. It might just be that one of them, you're like, Josh nailed it, draft B, we are there, we're done. That might be. Or we might say, I really love this little piece from draft 4 and that little piece from draft 1. So take a couple minutes right now, read through the different vision statements that we have, highlight what you think is awesome, and then let's check in with each other for a few minutes. Tammy, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I have to go find the 4th one because it's not on the sheet, so I'm going and looking for that right now.
I can actually email it to you right now. So while these guys are doing their work, I'll do my work and I'll email it to you so you have the 4th one. Or actually, I think Jen emailed it. If you have an email from Jen. We need that nice music back while you guys are all. On the clock. Alrighty, so draft 1, Oregon City celebrates the arts. Arts help us learn about the past, bring us together, and celebrate the present. Creative expression is a part of all city projects, and our residents contribute to artistic placemaking. Art brings joy, resources, and unity to our community. It's a platform to engage with nature, our neighbors, and one another. Does anybody mind reading number 2, so it's not just my voice you hear all the time?
I'll read number 2. Oregon City Arts Commission fosters a culturally enriched and connected community with public art that celebrate Oregon City's past and future, its arts community, and its economic vitality through programs, projects, and events that actively and creatively engage the city's citizens, its regional neighbors, and partners.
Sure. Any volunteers to read number 3, please? Go ahead, Tina.
The Oregon City Arts Commission perceives a culturally enriched and connected community with the arts in all of its forms. The arts in Oregon City celebrates the community's past and future. Through its support of the arts, the community nurtures and encourages the creative community. The Oregon City Arts Commission envisions the arts as a unifying force, bringing joy and economic vitality to the community, regional neighbors, and partners.
Rick. Jen, you want to read the one that you?
Sure. The Oregon City Arts Commission envisions a future where arts are supported and celebrated as a vital force that builds community. We imagine a thriving and sustainable arts ecosystem that supports economic prosperity, equity, and connection to place.
These are all good. So our first challenge, Art Commission, is to figure out which pieces and how we want to map it together. So, Josh, since you're first here.
Tammy Jo has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Please keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm not a quiet person, so even online.
Don't be.
So I really liked how everything got brought together, and thank you everybody who did their contributions. One thing that I did notice with these, so I'm moving my screen around so I can look at both. I would say the last one that we read is definitely my favorite, and I think one of the reasons is it's a bit more open in its language than some of the other ones, and I feel like it really hones in on all of the key important things that we were talking about without restricting our future activities or the view of what the Art Commission is to this community. I think things like putting programs, projects, and events in the vision it's really leading. And so I see, specifics like that to be a bit challenging. One thing I kept thinking about too when I was hearing them read was we keep saying past and future, but there's no acknowledgement of celebrating the moment. And I can think of several examples in Oregon City when we, take time to celebrate, the moment of where we're at in the city and the community. So I think that's something that somehow in the language, I don't know, past, present, and future, we should acknowledge, because I feel like it's just leaving out the present. And I think in a COVID world, the present is definitely something to be aware of.
So smart.
Very good.
So I muted, that was end sentence.
That's super. Other comments? Mary?
Yeah, I agree with your sentiments, Tanko, and I appreciate your draft, and I think the language really does kind of like hone in on what we're trying to get at. I really like vital force that builds community, and I like thriving sustainable art ecosystem that supports economic prosperity, equity, and connection to place. I wonder if we could add, instead of envisions a future, weaves past, present, and future.
So the suggestion, the Oregon City Arts Commission weaves past, present, and future?
I don't know if weaves is the right word.
Right, I get you, yeah. But getting to what you were saying, Tammy Jo, and encapsulating those different. Okay. Other folks?
I added a vital unifying force, and then imagine a thriving, culturally enriched, and sustainable arts ecosystem.
I didn't hear what that one was. Can you say it again for me?
I thought to add where it's celebrated as a vital, adding unifying force that builds community. And then we imagine a thriving, culturally enriched, and sustainable arts ecosystem.
I got the vital unifying force. What was the other addition?
Yeah, I'm having trouble following this too. I think the second suggestion, Tima, correct me if I'm wrong, the second suggestion was we imagine a thriving, culturally enriched and sustainable art ecosystem. Is that correct? Is that your, yeah. So she's suggesting we add in culturally enriched after the word thriving.
Wonder,
Got it. Thank you.
just, this is kind of wordsmithing.
Yep.
To the nth degree, but you said vital unifying force?
I did.
I feel like unifying doesn't need to be there because we're building community and that is unifying. And maybe we could use unifying instead of community, but it just feels like we're saying the same thing
kind of redundant.
twice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you read wherever that is?
Sure. The original it said Oregon City Arts Commission envisions a future where the arts are supported and celebrated as a vital force that builds community. One suggestion was to add in the word unifying force, but then if we're building community, are we already unifying? Is that duplicative, unnecessarily duplicative?
That's a good point. I agree. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
I see Emma has had her hand up.
I can't see behind. Emma.
Yeah, I like number 3.
You're looking for number 3. That one's going to be my next question. Is there a different version or different something? I'm going to go number 3.
The only thing that I think number 3 is missing is the placemaking. From number 1 about placemaking, I think that's an important idea to incorporate into whatever our vision statement is.
Okay. Trieste.
And I do like draft 4. My only thought is, should we make the language more active so that it would be the Oregon City Arts Commission envisions and fosters a future where the arts are supported, finish the sentence. We imagine and strive for a thriving and sustainable arts ecosystem, so that it's not all a vision of the future, it's kind of stating that we're an active part of that. Present.
I like that, like having some present tense verbs
Right.
in there.
More on your plate. Make you guys do more. No, this is, I do like that activating it. So it's not just that we're working toward it right now. I'm going to ask you to repeat what you said, Trieste. So it's
Sure. So what I added was, after envisions, I put and fosters, using the language from draft 2 from Josh, and then finishing the sentence. Next one, we imagine and strive for a thriving and sustainable arts ecosystem. And then finish the sentence.
I haven't.
Tammy Jo.
I think it's starting to get a bit. I get a bit wordy with the this and the and this. Like I get the value of having all of those words and the things that we do. But I'm wondering if we could consolidate a little bit. And I think maybe the word imagine is probably the least useful as far as furthering what we're trying to say and not being repetitive in any way.
What can we have in rather than imagine?
Just take that out, just put we strive for.
Yes, I think it's getting too wordy. I think
Strive
keeping
for.
it more concise and specific would be better.
I agree.
Okay. So if I got it right, and you're right, there's always going to be a little bit of wordsmithing. If we don't get it exactly right tonight, that's okay. I think where we're going though is we want to get the concepts all in right. The Oregon City Arts Commission envisions and fosters a future where the arts are supported and celebrated as a vital force that builds community. We strive for a thriving, culturally enriched and sustainable art ecosystem that supports economic prosperity, equity, and connection
Didn't we have some words in that, talking about the past, present, and future?
We use present and future. That's the suggestion, I think.
Ah, you're right, yeah. Where did I put it? I'm gonna look over your shoulder.
Oh, I didn't put it in here.
I have a
I just wrote
question
down
about
the
our
comment that he used past, present, and future. So I think
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have a question about our process.
please.
Oh, yeah, I have a question. Sure. So I just have a question about the process. So like, you read all 4 of them, but then I didn't like see like a vote or.
You're right, there hasn't been a vote yet, that's true.
And I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they're all good. I was just wondering how we are deciding which one we're going to use. That's all I'm asking.
Yep, you're about 2 minutes ahead of me. I was gonna keep massaging number 4, and then I was gonna ask if people wanted to vote one, or if we wanted to go back and revisit any. So I'm thinking the way you're thinking, Emma.
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
So when we get to a point where we're a little bit done massaging number 4, can you throw it in the chat, because I'm having trouble keeping up with all of the edits.
Yep, that sounds good.
Thank you.
the one concept we haven't seen that we talked about last time in this
Speak up, John. I'm sorry.
is diversity. Thinking that diversity is captured as part of our vision that, and I'm wondering if, yeah, we have that thriving, culturally enriched, diverse, and sustainable arts ecosystem or something to that effect. But just wanted to throw that is one topic that we haven't really touched on yet.
Does culturally enriched do that, or do you feel that it has to specifically say diversity?
And what about equity? Does equity capture that?
Equity doesn't matter.
I don't know if it signifies to me reading it, if I were to be totally new to this, that the diversity is included in that if you're just keeping in those two words. So it's just a suggestion, but yeah, I think if someone coming in looking at this from the outside for the first time or read it, they would, maybe ask, is culturally, you can have a culturally enriched community, doesn't mean that it's a diverse community or a diverse culture. It could just be one culture. Whereas we in Oregon City have multiple cultures that we're trying to include under one community.
Tim, Joe?
Yeah, I think this is what you're trying to unpack a little bit, but I think it's important to make sure our language is talking about wanting to be inclusive as opposed to trying to get diverse populations to somehow move here. I think what we're wanting to talk about is appealing to us and being about how we implement our programming projects and events. Does that sound right?
Well, yeah, and I guess I'm not saying that necessarily and it's just the wordsmithing of it, but I'm saying diversity was a topic we talked about before. That can mean both, people or Oregon City, live here, as well as the programs we initiate, the types of art and artists we promote, all of that. I mean, can kind of fall into that whole diversity. So I didn't write it in here thinking, that maybe that's how it goes, but just saying that's one topic that isn't as really highlighted in the vision statement.
What about putting it, that support economic prosperity, diversity, equity, and a connection to place?
Can we say that again?
We imagine and strive for a thriving and culturally enriched, sustainable arts ecosystem that supports economic prosperity, diversity, equity, and connection to place.
Yeah, I think that works for now.
And a simple way to do it too might to just start off by saying the Oregon City Arts Commission is an inclusive organization that, and then continue on. like, I started to tweak draft 2, which I liked, and the last thing I added was, and is inclusive of all, because I think that is an important thing to put in a vision statement or a mission, that you are an inclusive organization.
Unfortunately, Tammy Jo, I don't have access to the chat, so I'm afraid I can't share that with you. I can maybe check in with the tech person, see if he could do that. I'm not able to do that, unfortunately. What I would like to do is I'd like to read number 2 with the addition that you just had in there, Trieste, and then I want to see if people are comfortable selecting one of these 4.
Can we read through number 4 again as we all see it? Because I think I've heard some slight variations.
Okay. Who feels like they've got the right? All right, Tima, would you please read draft 4?
Okay. The Oregon City Arts Commission envisions and fosters past, present, and future where the arts are supported and celebrated as a vital, I don't know if you can find, we didn't do that, vital force that builds community. We strive for a thriving, culturally enriched, and sustainable arts ecosystem that supports economic prosperity, diversity, equity, and connection to place.
All right, I'm going to hold comments on that for a moment.
Can you read number 3, please?
So there's a request to read number 3. Do you want to go ahead and do that, Emma?
No, I'm asking if one of you can do it.
Okay. All right. So,
I'm sorry.
no, that's totally fine. I'm going to read number 3. We're also going to reread number 2, and then we'll see if we can take a vote and see where we are at 8:30 or 7:30. That says 8:30. Okay. We drafted number 3 actually to be a hybrid of 1 and 2. That was a version. Oregon City Arts Commission foresees a culturally enriched and connected community with the arts in all of its forms. The arts in Oregon City celebrates the community's past and future. Through its support of the arts, the community nurtures and encourages the creative community. The Oregon City Arts Commission envisions the arts as a unifying force, bringing joy and economic vitality to the community, regional neighbors, and partners. And I think Trieste, you suggested adding and surrounding.
I added that to draft 2. When I was
draft and is
tweaking it up.
inclusive of all.
I just added at the end, and is inclusive of all.
Inclusive of all. Okay. Comments on that, Emma? What is in draft 3 that speaks to you?
Well, I mean, they're all good. I mean, I think that number 3 isn't quite so, I don't know, it feels a little bit more like a kind of standard, I don't know. I mean, I liked it when I first heard it. I still like it. I mean, they're all good. I just wanted to hear it, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's thank you. Tima.
Draft 2 is nice in that it is one sentence.
One very long one.
I was hesitant why it was so long, right? I felt like it needed to be broken into. I did like the concepts that it carried, but I'm more supportive of 4, and maybe part of that is because it's into the same idea that it.
All right, what I'd like to do is read
Benefit of being able to read his first. So I could be like, and I like that.
What I'd like to do is read draft 2, just like I just read draft 3, and I'm going to ask if people are comfortable with maybe some small tweaks and then a vote. See if we feel like we can get there. Draft 2, Oregon City Arts Commission fosters a culturally enriched and connected community with public art that celebrates Oregon City's past and future, its arts community, and its economic vitality through programs, projects, and events that actively and creatively engage the city's citizens, its regional neighbors and partners, and is inclusive of all.
I will just say that the main thing that I put in there that I wanted to highlight was the active role that I think the commission will have to take, at least for the near term. As we build this out, we might evolve into a more advisory kind of commission, but to get it off the ground, I think there's going to have to be a lot of that kind of us hand-holding things to get them up and going. The programs we want to see, start to work. So that was kind of the thing. And, the vision statement typically, is only for 5 to 7 years or so. So, I think it can change in the future, but now I think that's kind of what I was really going for. And I think we've achieved that with the edit we made to number 4 as well. So I'm happy with either.
So I added a period and made it 2 sentences.
Where did you add?
I added the period at future. So
period.
it celebrates Oregon City's past and future, period. It celebrates its art community and its economic vitality with programs. I changed it through to with projects and events.
Okay. Does everybody understand that change? To those of us who like to go, oh, run on sentences. I like it.
Should we put in here when we talk about economic vitality, should we mention Oregon City's economic vitality? I mean, does it help or hurt? I think it doesn't do us any good if this helps Wetland's economic vitality, but not ours, but yeah, that's just me being.
I think when it says you're referring back to Oregon.
Well, in that one, I don't have the full draft of the current one from 4, but it was one thing that I was thinking about.
Okay. One thing that I noticed, we are seeing the same themes in these. We're seeing the importance for inclusivity, we're seeing the importance of past, present, future, art in multiple forms, economic prosperity. Those themes are in each of these. So that's important to point out. Do people feel comfortable taking a vote?
Why is economic prosperity in there? What does that have to do with the Arts Commission?
Well,
Because art plays a huge role in the economic prosperity of a community because it has to do with how it feels to live in a community, and people want to live in a community that feels creative and joyful and loving, and it's a beautiful place to be. And art also increases property values, and it just, art and the economy of the city they're always tied together.
And I would say as part of kind of being under the economic development portion of the city, we kind of have that somewhat responsibility of promoting economic, vitality in the city through arts.
No argument here, I'm love. And economic development.
Also, especially with public art plays a huge role in the economic health of a city. And if a city isn't thriving economically, it shows up in the culture of the city, because if you're trying to survive, then no art is ever going to happen. So it shows that you are a thriving community when there is a place for public art and creativity in your city.
Any other further questions about that? Okay. Do people feel comfortable with taking a vote? And again, it does mean that it's never going to change, and every last word is perfect. We can still tweak it a little, but I want to have the group feel comfortable that we've captured in a vision what you think is important.
When we do this vote, are we gonna do just a motion for one of them, and if it passes, passes, or are we gonna say, everyone just go around the room and tell us which one you like, and we do a tally and then take the top two? Is that how, I just want to know what the parameters are of the
Yeah.
vote.
I was going to suggest that we just go around the room and people will say what they like, and I do a tally. That was how I was going to suggest. Okay. I'm going to start with our 2 Zoom participants. If you feel ready, draft 1, 2, 3, and 4. Emma, are you? Your preference is still draft 3?
They're all fine to me. I'll just go with whatever the consensus is.
Okay. Thank you. Tammy Jo?
I would say draft 4 would be my pick. It obviously still needs a little finessing, I think, but I think draft 4 is going in the best direction. I would like to add a little extra. I really like the bringing joy and economic vitality of number 3. I really find that phrase to be moving and important, because art does bring so much joy to people's lives, and I think having that reminder in that, I don't know, I really liked hearing that in the vision.
Terrific.
Well, what about that support bringing joy and economic vitality, diversity?
I'll play with that. Jen, what do you think?
4.
Trina?
4.
Josh?
I'll go with 4.
Terrific. Ema?
4, please.
Awesome. Mary?
I'm still respecting 4, but I'm going for 4.
Okay. And Selena?
I'll go 4.
All right. All right, well, thank you all.
Me too. I'll join the 4 crowd.
Oh, Karen, I'm sorry, I didn't. Sorry. I was trying to be creative and not go around in a circle. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Thank you. I feel like this conversation about our vision is very robust. And like I said, I do feel like we've pulled out important themes in each of the drafts that we've reviewed. We'll go with 4. We may still play with it a little bit, but that is where we are. So thank you. So I don't know if going from vision to goals is harder or easier. Once you have established vision, then you start to look at more specific goals.
Got a hand.
Another hand, thank you.
Oh no, I was ready to dive into goals. I'll let you finish up though.
Terrific. Let's spend 30, 40 minutes identifying what do I want to do? What does the Arts Commission accomplish? We've shared some definitions when we started this strategic planning process. What is a goal? It's steps to get you to your end result. We all have personal goals. If you look in the business administration management, there's all kinds of definitions about goals. For organizations and boards, it's the ultimate result of what you want to achieve at the end of a certain period of time. I like that you recognize, Josh, that the vision can change over time. It really describes the long-term destination of where you want to go. People probably have, job performance reviews. Those are fun. Or have people heard of SMART goals? Okay. On the second handout, something to think about as we're identifying goals. Okay, now a SMART goal. SMART is specific, So you want to be pretty intentional when you say this is a goal. It should be measurable. That's very important. You know, it's funny, different people say that A means different things. Actionable, attainable, R is relevant, and T is time-based. So I put a star next to specific, measurable, and time-based. I think those are what you really want to, we're not writing not competing in a business school competition, so we don't have to have things. But I think as we're wanting to identify goals, what do we do as an arts commission for 2 years? We do want to be very specific when we call out goals. How are we going to measure it, and by what time do we want to have it be done? So as we start to brainstorm, what do we want to accomplish? I want to see if you can have it be those things: specific, measurable, time-based. You have an example. Please.
I think I have an example.
Awesome.
Well, are we just throwing our ideas out now?
Yep, we're just throwing ideas out right now.
Okay, I have two that kind of go together. I would like to see a variety of public art throughout the city. And the second part of that goal is I would like to see from a variety of artists and artist groups, individuals and groups.
Great goal. Okay.
I have a whole list. And I'll go through most of it, but I think there's some immediate issues that we have to meet as soon as we can. One of them is that I know the city is just about finalizing the procedures for murals for application, but part of that is that it is submitted to the Art Commission. And so if we could iron out what those procedures are, what is the economic development group, what is their responsibilities, and what's the responsibility of the Art Commission? I know 2 murals right now that are going forward, and so that's something that we'll have to do sooner than later in order to give them the approval. So I think that's something that we're going to have to iron out pretty quick, is once it comes to the Art Commission, what's our responsibility? What do we do? How do we go about it?
That makes sense.
And the other one,
I'm sorry. No, everything you said is right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can paraphrase it again a little bit, and I'm going to come back and pick on you. Tell me for the murals, you want to just repeat what you said. You want to, by a certain time, we want to have achieved processes and procedures to be clarified.
correct. I would even want to do it by the end of the month. I think that's too quick, but within the next 30 days, we have a procedure in place for the Art Commission to approve a mural then given to us from the city. I think, and that's what I'm a little unclear of too. Even reading the procedure, it seems like it first goes to the Economic Development Team, and then that is submitted to the Art Commission. And I don't know what our responsibilities are for that. You know, as we keep these murals moving forward.
Okay.
Can we develop those procedures for all Irving City public art forms? Because I think it would be helpful to have a clarity across the city.
I'm sure. I mean, this is
Not
Yeah.
not the same
Yeah.
timeline, of course, but as another.
yeah, that
goal
would
in
be great.
realm.
That's a great idea. So we have a general process in place for any piece of art that is on the table.
For any public art, not just mural.
Yeah, for first step, doing it for murals, since that is a more time-sensitive process, but then accomplish that for all public art media for the city.
I'm just going to throw it out there. The statue that had been on the corner of 7th and 10th, yeah, if you want to address that.
You got an email on that. That was my second immediate thing, is I had someone give me an email. does the art commission, are they doing anything and looking into the sculpture? But then I said, it's going to be brought up at our next meeting, and that Tina had brought it up a couple times before.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Emma has a hand up too.
Thank you, Emma.
So when it comes to goals, I mean, I feel like a really important goal that Trace brought, which I still really love, is the idea of creating an art center, like an art center, similar to Multnomah County. I mean, similar to the Multnomah Village Art Center. That's right. So, I mean, to me, that would be like a specific goal with a timeline, like say within 2 to 5 years. And it's a really involved project. But I mean, when I was asking a question earlier about economic prosperity, I wasn't meaning to be flippant. I mean, I think that most artists I know aren't very economically prosperous. And I feel like part of the goal of the Arts Commission, I feel like we have two goals. One is to support the arts in Oregon City by connecting artists and finding ways to mutually support each other. And then I feel like there's another goal, which is that we're a city commission. And so it's still not really clear to me what our role is in relationship to the city commission, because we're an advisory group to them, but I'm not sure exactly what they're expecting us to do. So I'm hoping, I guess the goal would be to build a stronger relationship with the city and with other Oregon City agencies in the next year, so that we can find ways to connect the arts and artists with city government. I don't know, is that a goal?
Clarity.
Please.
First of all, the difference between a goal and a strategy. Being Arts Center within 3 to 5 years is actually a strategy. A goal associated with that very well might be to support the arts so that they are commercially viable, depending on what you want the Arts Center to do. It could be so supporting the arts so that work is commercially viable and sustainable. And then the strategy would be creation of an arts center. That's usually how it works when you develop a goal, and then a strategy would be something very specific like that. The relationship between the commission, the Arts Commission, and the City Commission it's really an advisory role. So therefore, the City Commission is expecting the Arts Commission to advise it on how to support the arts community and to suggest strategies, goals and strategies to do that. So really what you're doing right now is helping the City Commission and advising the City Commission once this is complete. So you'll be advising the Commission as to how to support the arts and what goals what goals you think are important to do that. That's the role of the Arts Commission.
So an example of this, so I understand, is like Tria's mural process clarification with a goal of clarifying the processes of, a goal of clarifying processes for creating murals? And the strategy would be?
Well, for instance, the goal for murals. The City Commission has voted already to establish murals in the city. So a goal for, we're already developing the processes, and you'll see what the processes are at the end of the month. But a goal would be generally to support the arts in all its forms, including murals. And then you have strategies below that.
which in this case would be to clarify the mural process.
Yeah.
And that would be what we would recommend that the city do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, sorry, one point is that they're a little bit different than other commissions because we do have a budget.
Right.
So we do have a little bit of teeth. So I get the advisory thing, and actually one of the things on my list was, I think in the next 6 months to a year, we need to have a complete strategic public arts plan for Oregon City. If you go and look at most other cities out there, they have, a 5 to 10 year plan that they draft. Some have, you can see every 5 years they have a new one. It basically breaks down essentially what we're trying to do here, which is here's our mission, here's our vision statement, here's the imperative of public arts in the community. Kind of it's a way to communicate, why all of this is important to members of the community, to the commission, to whoever, and then it breaks down your, strategic goals, and it takes that vision statement that we've just worked on while we work together to compile it all. Then it breaks it apart and says, here's your strategic objective 1, here's all your goals, here's your strategic objective 2, here's all your goals for that one, and does that. So that's what I would say is a really key thing that we should be working on as a commission, is drafting that up, to have that full vision in front of the commission. So
That makes sense. And hold that till I get it on the list. I'm gonna call you in one second. And it's really easy to get strategies and goals mixed up. I think we hear a lot of these things and the frequently used in just our everyday vocabulary. So, and I want to invite you to jump in to James. Is a little bit broader. It is the broadest, and the goal is still pretty darn broad. Although it's smart, right? It's time bound, but it's still pretty broad. And the strategies just start getting down into who's going to do what when. That's when you're starting to get. So it just goes from the bigger vision, the goal, the strategy. That makes sense.
Timmy Jo has a question. She's had her hand up for a while.
Thank you for your patience, Tammy Jo.
Sure. Thanks, Trist. Just going to say, I second what Josh is saying. I think it falls well what we've said so far. And I think that a 5 to 10 year public art plan and would summarize as a goal, and a lot of what we've already talked about would fit within that plan. Figure out mural procedures and responsibilities, clarifying about all public art within the city in general. All of those things fit within. So if we call out our goal of a 5 to 10 year public art plan, I think work really well. And I know it's something that's definitely on my mind. So this next one, I don't know if it's, maybe you guys can help me frame it out into a goal, or maybe it's a strategy that'll fall onto one of the other goals that we come up with. But I think it's important for us, here, I'll try and make it time-based, in the first year to identify the arts assets within Oregon City. And when I say art assets, I mean any art center to an artist, to the arts program, to a theater company, to there's just all the different things within the art ecology of art that are disconnected and unknown to some of us. Like the really famous artist Lee Kelly is in Oregon City, and to just take stock of that in our first year of what's here, I think was a really important tool going forward.
And that's a very, very specific goal. That's a goal, and then the strategy, of course, how to carry that out. But that is definitely a goal.
Good, I got it right.
I'm gonna hang this up. So we might have to fill in a bit.
So you just see the framework? The framework was to develop inventory of our assets to the art.
well, asset sources, I would say.
Well,
Yeah.
And then that's a general goal, but then again, it's specific enough. And then below that, how are you going to do that? Who is going to do it?
Inventory of existing arts.
Assets and resources.
Assets and resources.
Okay.
And kind of tied into assets, I would say we also should establish some procedure around asset maintenance over years and time. Like we have the one statue that was damaged, but we could have other natural disasters that ruin other art, or just over time art can wear down. So making that some type of way to assess the assets we have every given year and address any maintenance that's necessary to maintain them.
So that would be a strategy.
That would be a strategy under.
I think that would fall under the public art too, as well.
Public art assets.
Sure.
Develop an inventory of public art assets and resources.
No, she was talking about a different goal.
Okay.
The
all right.
goal before that one referenced
Yes.
the public art.
Yes.
Which one was
Yes.
that?
You might have to repeat that one, Tammy Jo, because I think we need another piece of paper for that.
Yeah, and I think
I think they were talking about inventorying the public art specifically and the conditions of that, and I think that would fall under the 5 to 10 year public art plan about inventorying and caring for our public art. I think it would fall under that goal as a strategy, not under the assets.
all right. I want to just throw it up as a placeholder. Before I write down what you just said, what Josh said a minute ago about the strategic plan. Then,
That's actually a goal. Create a strategic plan.
Hey!
okay, so there was the inventory of art assets and resources, but then also inventory of, I'm missing something. Public
I thought there
and
was.
artists?
Public arts, but that would be under the public art goal.
I'm not sure what the public art goal is.
I think that goal is to increase public art in Oregon City.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
what I'd like to do is I want to go back, that was the first one, and Selena threw it out there to start us off.
It's right there.
I wrote was public art, that wasn't very helpful. Thank you, Tina.
I have one thing to add,
Oh, yes, please.
if I could, before the collaborate with community partners to create cultural art events.
Write that down.
I missed the end of that. Create, what are we creating?
Cultural art events
Collaborate with schools.
and community partners.
Can we say annual or events?
Say that again, you got cut off.
Can we say annual or reoccurring events
Yeah, I was gonna say.
instead of just events?
Right. Yeah.
That's the goal.
All right. Love this. This is you're all just a little ahead of me though. All right. So public art. When you said you wanted to have public art, now I want to make it more of a goal, like more specific. What do we?
I thought we had the goal. I thought it was come up with a 5 to 10 art plan.
To increase public art in the city.
When I was thinking, I have a kind of a public art support structure or organizational structure. So that would include the plan, that would possibly include the community center, maybe a physical location that we have in the future, the establishment of some type of art coordinator in the future to handle the day-to-day public arts. When we have our other job working, that person's helping run programs and things like that and carrying out a lot of the day-to-day stuff. I think that would be a good thing to have in the city, maybe not in a year, but down the road, 3-5 years.
All right. So we took what started out with increase the amount of public art in Oregon City, and then you started filling it in, which is exactly what we want to do.
But when Mary said that, would you accept a friendly amendment? For instance, you said increase the amount of public art.
Or at least that's what I wrote down. I don't know if that's what you
That's what you said. But could we say it's the presence
I don't think amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was me.
Okay, presence of public art. Or it could be public, it can be private art. You can support someone's private effort if they donated it to you.
Publicly enjoyed art.
I guess I was going back to like what our vision statement, like we're trying to create this sustainable arts ecosystem where people are drawn to Oregon City because of the arts being here. So it's very public and visible. And so I guess I saw that as an overarching goal of increasing public art as a way of building that sense of community. And I think underneath that is a connection to place. And as a commission, we could identify spaces for placemaking in Oregon City and have like an annual, each year we assign a different place in Oregon City where the placemaking event is happening. And I guess that's part of strategy, but.
These curtains aren't very easy to write on.
All what you said is really geared to increasing the presence of
Public art.
public art.
We've got some comments in the Zoom.
Strategy around placemaking, including the identification of specific places.
And both Tammy and Emma have had their hands up for a bit. So Tammy, do you want to go first?
Actually, Emma's had her hand up longer. Let her go first.
Okay, Emma, go.
Yeah, I'm just wondering like how we're gonna do things. We've had several meetings so far, and I mean I love that we're meeting, but I'm just wondering like how are we as the commission actually going to do actual things? It probably sounds like a dumb question, but I'm just like for me a goal would be to do one thing, and just because we're like a group of people, and so we kind of have to prove to ourselves that we can accomplish something. And so I'm wondering, like, what's one thing that we could do to start, just to show how we can work together and accomplish something as a group? Is that a goal?
And I have some ideas on that, but I'm going to wait until we get through what everybody's, goals and strategies are. And then I have suggestions how we could actually be more on.
Makes sense, and I think you're like me. Like I like jump in 2 feet first, and then I'm like, what am I doing? So I think once we've articulated goals and have established 3, 4, 5, whatever the number you choose, goals for 2022 and 23, then we start to get into the strategies, and that's the who's doing what by when. So I feel like then we can really start to get into the assignments, and it's going to feel more like we're actually doing something. Does that make sense?
Emma, are you good with that? Emma, are you comfortable with that?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. We just get started.
Can I go now?
Please.
So I think we're getting in the woods a little bit with our public art conversation. I definitely agree in contributing, enhancing the amount or whatever the presence or whatever words we want to use of public art in one city. But I think we also need to have language that includes taking stock of what we have and caring for what we have and building a program that is inclusive to community somehow, as far as not just thinking about doing more in the future. There's more to it than that. In the goal, it needs to say more than just make more public art happen.
Give us a goal. You have a goal?
I have the Oregon Arts Commission strategic plan before I came here. And in there, they have several goals. Maybe reading some of these might give ideas of what we kind of settle on in terms of, examples. So the first goal they have is make the programs of Oregon Arts Commission artists and art organizations to enhance the quality of life for all Oregonians. Number 2 was to advance the essential role that the arts play in supporting the economic vitality of Oregon Number 3, to stimulate the opportunities for Oregonians of all ages to pursue learning in and through the arts. 4 was to advocate and communicate the value that artists and art organizations bring to Oregon. And the 5th goal was to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the Oregon Arts Commission to better serve artists, art organizations, and client agencies. And then under each of those, they have several what you call strategies that they follow. So that kind of just helps reset like what we're looking for in terms of goals to kind of emulate and using our statement to get that. That might be helpful.
I think we got to go back to the SMART. I think we need the word SMART that we started out with. We need specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based is what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, can I put it out there now? Does anyone else, and I want to make sure that you are both heard too, any other visions or goals? And then I'd like to dive into, like you said, Tammy, what's the SMART related to each of these? But anyone else here that has anything in mind, and I'll make sure everybody's heard.
I guess I really appreciated what Josh brought forward, like the example of that in the Oregon Art Commission, how they're set up. And the one thing that I think about maybe more of a strategy instead of a goal and where it would fit under these is to be educated about the role of other arts organizations as well as our own, to be able to understand where we can be the most effective. So, and it just comes from my lack of knowledge, probably, that I know there are other groups out there, they doing versus what we're doing. So I would like some sort of strategy in there that is educating us to help shape our role.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that is a strategy.
Yeah.
I feel like as a group, I feel like as a group we should start with one thing, and it should be something pretty simple, so that we as a group learn how to work together. And I think that if we accomplish one thing, then we'll kind of learn how to do the next thing as a group, whatever that thing is. I don't know. I think that's how groups tend to succeed.
Good thought. Jen, do you have anything?
I think I'm more in the like strategy headspace than the goal setting, because I start to say something and I'm like, nope, that's later.
I want to kind of dive in like Emma. Okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to choose?
Would you read that first goal? I mean, just the first one.
So goal number 1 was make the programs of the Oregon Art Commission accessible to artists and art organizations to enhance the quality of life for all Oregonians.
Is that with a little tweaking? Is it possible to make that your own? You do make the art accessible to everyone.
And then the strategy to that could clarify in the mural project.
Right. Yeah, and I think I see that more as a vision statement, I think, which we have gotten through. But from all of the things that we have up now, can we now focus on what do we think is immediate goal? How are we going to do it? Who is in charge? And then number 2, and then maybe more 3, 5. But if we can start to look at everything that we put up here and choose at least one, that we start our SMART.
So one goal that I have on here that I think is important if we want to hit the rest is set up a financially stable public arts fund for Oregon City. And by that I mean we establish financial policies in terms of grants, gift from the community. We grow our fund, and it can be, if you want to set measurements around that, say if we double our fund every year for the next 5 years, you go from a $40,000 account to 1.2 million, which then allows us to do a lot of other things. Set up that percentage for the arts legislation that was I think, discussed at some point, but never passed or never went to the commission for final approval. We have asset maintenance program where we make sure that the public art we do have is maintained. New art that comes in also includes that, provision where we make sure that we don't throw something out there and then in a year it's, gone or no longer beneficial to the community. So I would say, in terms of my goal, I would say it's to set up the financially stable public arts fund. And then under that, those other items.
That is excellent. Okay, what are we gonna do?
So I'd like to say something about that. Yeah. I'd like to say something about one of the things that the last Arts Commission kind of died on was the Percent for Arts program, which was a great idea. I mean, it was a great idea to have a Percent for Arts program, but and they spent a lot of meetings discussing how to do it, and it never really happened. And the last commission kind of dissolved, and that was part of where it was dissolving. So I just want to ask, like, if we want to talk about getting money for public art, like, how are we going to get money for public art? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned having people to donate money, which is a great idea, but the last Arts Commission tried to do Percent for Arts and it didn't succeed.
What were you going to say, Selena?
Well, for that, we'd have to make a fundraising strategy, right, altogether.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying we have to go out and make a fundraising strategy. I'm saying if people were saying, hey, we want to donate some of this art that we have in a private collection to Oregon City, how would we go about doing it? And we have a process for them to follow to submit that and evaluating and make sure we use it, efficiently. So it's really more that, not going to the community and saying, here, GoFundMe page kind of thing. It's there's a lot of commissions across the country that have donations and utilize donations, but they all have policies around how they accept it, what they accept. There are certain people that would donate maybe some of their art, but that's not necessarily what we would consider something we'd have to have, and then you have to maintain it if you have it. You have to have inventory. You have to, if you're not putting it out somewhere for people to see, you have to put it somewhere else. And how do we handle that?
I think, at least for this commission, I think that's going to have to be more of a longer term when that's presented to us, and then we'll have to deal with it. But I think there's some more pressing points right now. I think that what you said, create a fund, because we do have funds, I understand. And I was thinking of that today. How do we disperse those? Do we have to have a grant committee set up that they have to present to us and we have to give it on a merit basis? Do we just do it across the board? So I think that is an immediate thing that we have to do. And Emma, you may or may not know this, but I think it was a 1.3% that the former Art Commission put together. It's all in writing. It's all done. It's all finished. It was just never signed. So I wonder if that would be an easy way for us to just take what they, had so far and be able to get it approved.
Well, I mean, a Percent for Arts program is something that I think needs to be voted on by Oregon City voters.
Right. Yeah. I think that's as far as it got. But there's a past document that it's all in writing.
Word of caution. That's a word of caution. Remember, you're an advisory committee to the commission. What that means is that everything you do, you have to get permission to do. That's the first from the commission. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it's probably not a good idea to talk about how to tax people at this point. If you want to get their support, I think that would be a political mistake.
But it was that the idea wasn't anything to do with taxes. It was for every new project in Oregon City, the city would donate, I think it was 1.3% of that city planned project.
Right.
And what was sad was when that was written up, there were so much growth in Oregon City, but because it was never signed, it was never done, and then we ended up kind of on the downside. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just saying that a lot of it has already been finished. if that's something that we wanted to pursue.
And the goal could be more to look into the viability of doing such a program. You know, it would be looking at different options for funding this public arts fund. One being percentage for the arts. Is that something we want to do? Is it all through grants that we want to go out and try and get? Is it through gifts that we want to receive from the community? What is it? But we need to have a strategy around building a reserve, a treasury that we can utilize for public art. Otherwise, we're going to be, out of money pretty soon.
And a very community-driven way to do that is simply through a fundraiser. And I'm exploding with ideas for fundraisers, really fun things to do that would bring the community together and be able to collect funds and tell the community, this goes to our art commission, this goes to our projects, our goals. So, and things that I've seen work, things that I've seen make 40,000, 60,000.
Well, I think too that we will, as we develop our goals, we'll be inspired by effective ways of fundraising. There are a number of ways to fundraise, but right now I don't think that will come. Right now we need to prioritize what we want money for.
Yeah, I'm gonna call on Mary and then I'm gonna close this conversation.
Yeah, I guess,
I'm sorry.
you have a thought? Go ahead.
No, you were first.
Okay. I just was thinking something that we can do in the next year or 2 years is develop our strategic arts plan. And so the goal will be to create a strategic plan. And I think Tammy Doe's idea of looking at the assets and the resources that are existing in Oregon City and having an inventory of those could be one of those pieces of the strategic arts plan. And I think everything else is going to kind of fall in place after we kind of develop what that is.
Okay. All right, I said I wasn't going to take any more comments, but go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, and that's good. But I totally support that. I really think that the strategic arts plan is what I've gravitated towards. But I also think, kind of following up a little bit on the conversation we were having about finances, is that in the next year, I do think, or even sooner, maybe in the next 6 months, we have a better understanding of how we would want to direct or use the money that has been allocated, right? To come up with maybe that's a kind of sub piece of the strategic plan, but I think we've talked about a variety of different things, but one, there is a bit of money there, and then what ways do we see that being used?
More invested so that it can
Right,
grow.
exactly.
So we can't invest it.
Sorry, not investing, but whatever you're talking about.
But
Yeah.
I can feel the excitement. But I have to ask you to calm down because, once again, you're not a 501c3 separate entity. This is an advisory commission that comes up with ways to support the arts. And you don't do it. The community does it. You don't do this. You support others to do it. And if somebody, like when there's a mural, you're not doing the mural. You're actually approving the mural, the request. So that's one way of supporting the arts. And then another way of supporting the arts is to enhance its presence. So therefore, any monies you have could also be designed to increase the presence of art through the work of other people.
Makes sense.
I just would like to give the floor to Tammy Jo.
Thank you, Triest. In trying to get back to getting a goal on the board, I was writing some language to try and summarize and listen to what everybody was saying and the different things about, caring for the art and our public art fund. So trying to put all of the things I'm hearing into a SMART goal. The sentence that I came up with was establish a 5-year public art program that cares for current public art and facilitates the acquisition of new public art.
All right.
It should encompass the murals, the fund to support art. It should encompass acquisitioning and increasing our art presence. Just trying to get like everything in there in a specific goal.
I really like the way that's written. It's a great goal.
Can you say it again, please, Tammy Jo?
Sure. Establish a 5-year public art program that cares for current public art and facilitates acquisitions of new public art.
Public art program that facilitates.
A public art program that cares for current public art.
Okay.
And facilitates the acquisition of new public art.
Does that include murals?
Yes. Murals are public art, so yes. Like the latest mural project would be a mural care. They were taking care of the piece that was there.
Would it be anything besides murals and sculptures?
I'm sure there's other types of public art.
The projection on the little elevator tower.
Yeah.
Sound.
There's VR art or augmented reality art in public spaces. I don't want to get into that long conversation though.
All right, I think let me just see what we got. So we got a couple of goals. One, increase the presence of public art. I mean, that's a very larger. And we started to identify specific strategies or increase the presence of public art through placemaking and the identification of specific places. Create an art strategic plan. Create an Oregon City Art Center within 3 to 5 years. Establish a 5-year art program, the one that we just reviewed. I think. Is that accurate? These are all. Now, again, I'm going to leave the art center as a specific, as its own goal, rather than as a.
That's a strategy.
Well,
That's a strategy.
yes, actually, it could be. Yes, if the goal is to increase the presence of public, it could be that's a strategy.
And could we start to go through these things we've got up and see if we want to make a definite start on any of them?
Mm-hmm.
And also start to put some of these under the goal that Tammy Jo wrote out, because a lot of these are going to fall under that, and then give ownership to people. If we can get that far, give ownership to people tonight on, would you be willing to do this or do that? And ways to start to get there. The creation of the Oregon City Art Center, I've had a couple of conversations with Larry Didway, the superintendent now for Clackamas Schools. We planned on talking after the new year about the Barkley School. Mm-hmm. So would everybody be comfortable with that if I made that step? Not that it's right away, but at least it's to see if that place would be viable. I didn't want to do anything actually before I talk.
I kind of have a question about that, and just in the sense of like, because I'm hearing we're advisory to the Oregon City Board, so like maybe do we have to come up with what our goals are or what our actions are, and then get permission from the board, the city commission, before we go forward and do something like that? So maybe you can help me out.
Once again,
my understanding is that we don't do things. Like if we were to do that, it would actually be the city that would do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's too much into the weeds. I mean, you really have to stay with the advisory function of the board. That's why you were created. You're not a 501c3 that would go out and do this stuff yourself. You don't do that. Your function is to work with other people in the community to do these things. If someone came to you and said, I would like to talk to this gentleman, and we would like to create this art center, and they come to you with a plan. You review the plan, you like it, you approve it, and then it goes to the city commission for final governing approval, because they're the ones who can spend cash and approve the expenditure of cash. So if someone came to you and asked and did this and said, I'd like to do this, that's how you support the arts. You don't do it yourself.
But
Sorry,
I think at
clarification.
this point in Oregon City, though, we can't be an advisory committee if there's no art in Oregon City. I think, and these are just my thoughts, I open it up to discussion, but as somebody mentioned it before, the first year of the Art Commission is going to be more active than it will in the future. Once things are established, once we start partnerships, once we put that out there. But there is no art in Oregon City except for things that were done 20 years ago. So it has, I don't know, those are my thoughts on it. Yes, it's going to be better to be an advisory committee, but we have to start somewhere.
Can I add to that?
Go ahead, Tim, Josh, actually, and then Tammy Jo.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, so right now, we are technically an advisory committee, given our bylaws and what the commission has basically carved out for us.
And the city ordinance, the law.
The law, yeah, which the commission can change, correct?
Well, you can't change the law that easily. Now, it takes a long time to change the law.
Okay. But they could, if we came to them with a strategic plan that outlined some of these goals and these strategies, and some of it took more of an active role, the commission could approve us to do that, but we would have to get their permission to do such action, right?
Right.
So it's not impossible, it's just we have to go through probably some more hoops to get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just getting back to Trina's concerns about wanting to be active. I think if we look to the goal of spending the first year to really take stock of our art assets, I think that will really go towards getting to know who and what we have here in our community. And I think that will go a long way towards, like you said, feeling like there isn't a lot here when I feel like there is, as someone who knows a lot of artists in here in Oregon City, art studios, art spaces that are flying under the radar. And so I think having the community know that we exist and then us getting to know our community is going to lend towards those conversations where we as an advisory committee can say, hey, we exist, let's have a conversation. What are you thinking about? Maybe we can help you facilitate to make this happen. So I really think that taking stock in the first year will help do that.
And on that too, because my understanding is that we as an organization would not even be able to take charge of an art center. So if, in my mind, if you wanted to pursue this right now involving an art organization that already exists or some other people that have this as a common goal, would be the way to do this investigation, which you could always bring back to us, and we could support.
But maybe we need to take stock not just of our public art assets in Oregon City, but also our arts organizations and form partnerships with existing arts organizations in Oregon City.
Yeah, that's a separate goal, Tima. There was the take stock of the assets and then public art, two separate things.
Yeah.
So out of all these goals, the one that seems like the most obvious to start with and get done first is strategic plan. Unless I think the strategic plan is something that's going to guide a lot of these other ones. The establish the 5-year public art program, I think that's something we can do as well at the same time. We can look at, what are our different art resources, art assets, our, possible partners in all of this. So that could be something we do as well, but those two might be hand in hand.
Or because develop an inventory of assets and resources is a different goal, though. So I feel like you just tried to combine those two. Because what Tammy Jo was just saying is if we can identify our current assets and resources, then that might like inspire our strategic plan too.
I think you're both saying the same thing. They're two separate goals.
Right.
Developing a strategic plan and doing this arts assessment.
Sure.
Being two separate.
Yeah, I originally had this as a strategy, but I think it's a little broader than that. So, we want to make it smart, like you were saying. So, what we want to do? Okay, this is a goal. How do we measure it? When do we want to have it done? If we agree that developing an inventory of assets and resources is a goal, I wonder if we could dig in, spend a little bit of, putting a little more legs on each of these that we've started to identify as goals. Does that make sense?
Well,
James.
I mean, you said it right, that is actually a strategy. That's a strategy. The goal to that strategy would be development inventory. A goal associated with that strategy would be to become aware. Very thin line, this one.
Yeah, this one is almost the same.
I know how we feel.
But that's a strategy because you want to, in order to, the point of doing that, that's the question. The point of doing that is to become aware of what's available with regard to the arts in this community.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. To develop an inventory addresses that goal. To become more aware of what's available in the community with regard to the arts.
I like that.
Goal, to become more aware of what's available
In the community with regard to the arts. The strategy is to develop an inventory.
more aware.
The other obvious goal that you haven't identified is one of letting the art community know you exist.
I think those things are connected.
Yeah.
Like it goes both ways.
Yeah.
To get to know people, but get to know us.
Yeah.
Aren't we an asset?
Yes. Yes, you are.
I made a list of
So I have,
city and private organizations in town to at least set a meeting or a letter and see if people wanted to take ownership of some of them, but I think Chamber of Commerce, which we mentioned last time, and they have meeting every morning at 7:30. Would you be agreeable if I represented our commission at the next Chamber of Commerce meeting and just announced we've had 2 retreats, we're moving along, you'll be hearing more about us? Are you okay with that? Downtown Oregon City Association, is anybody on the board for that? Because they hold events, and I'm thinking of organizations that we can lend our support to as an advisory, rather than doing it saying, we're here for you, if you need to contact the arts or you want to have the arts involved, we can see if we can make connections for you.
But one of the things you really could do, like offer suggestion, creating an art strategy plan, you could have the various groups come and make a presentation to the commission. So that you get to know them, they get to know you, you invite them on a schedule. Just like the planning commission would invite different developers before it. You're the same way, you invite different groups toward you. You're the commission.
Victoria, the chamber director, because she knew I was on the art commission, she asked if we wanted to host. Okay, and all you do is we don't have to host, we don't have to choose the place. We can have a place available or do it by Zoom, but we could host it so we could talk for 10 minutes on who we are and what we're doing.
It has to be agenda. When all you get together, it becomes a public meeting.
Okay.
So you have to be, that's something, always have to be careful. You can't, I mean, I know it's frustrating, I know it is. But the law says that you cannot meet without agendizing the meeting. And the easiest way to get people to know you is to invite others into your house.
But if we had one representative at a chamber meeting, would that be allowed?
Yeah,
Yes, so I think that's what I'm talking about,
in that scenario, yeah.
right?
But you can also do it the other way, invite people to the commission, the Arts Commission, to talk about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and how it gel with what they're doing after a while of learning how they can contribute to the strategic plan that you develop. If you can't really implement a plan by yourself, you can't implement a plan without the help of others. So, it might be a good idea to do an assessment of who's out there and let them come talk to you.
I would also add to that, just so we don't get bogged down, meeting with everyone, is we set qualifications of if they're, a certain size or, maturity level of the organization we want to be meeting with. If it's just someone who just set up a group yesterday in their garage, is that as powerful as if we get with,
No, the ones that I've listed is Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Oregon City Association, the Citizens Informed and Aware, which is the conglomerate of all the neighborhood organizations, which I think the Chamber has presented to them before. OCBA, the Oregon City Business Alliance, maybe Opportunity, and Clackamas County Arts Alliance. And I know that Tima goes to the CCAA meetings. I also do. I'm on the event committee for the Downtown Oregon City Association. I just think it would be a great way to start to say, after 20 years, there's a new art commission in town. How can we help?
And I have a comment.
Emma, please.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that, I mean, when I think about public art in Oregon City, or just when I think about public art in general, I mean, I think it's important also be realistic and think about, is public art effective? And when we're doing an inventory of our public art in our city, like, what art is really speaking to people? I mean, right now I'm on vacation and I'm in a city that I lived in for a number of years, Nashville, Tennessee, and they just had a huge investment in public art here, and it's great. I mean, it's amazing, and it's so beautiful. The public art that the city has invested in has really, it's like the capstone on just this massive economic development in the city. And when I think about Oregon City's public art, I mean, it's really beautiful. I mean, we have a lot of great public art, but I don't know that anybody pays that much attention to it. And it's like, I feel like public art should be something that, I mean, like when I think about things that have been really successful in the last 10 years, I mean, to me, the most successful thing I've seen in the last 10 years has been the projection on the elevator. I mean, people seem to really love that, and the different way, like when we had that thing several years ago with the projection on the elevator, that was like the most popular art thing I've seen here in 10 years, besides the art festival. And it's like, I feel like we have to think about what appeals to people. Like, what do people want to see?
Well, I think as part of our strategic plan, if we're going out to partners, we should also be surveying the communities as well. I think we talked about that last time. Getting a survey out or some type of communication out to the general public to say, what do you want to see and what seems important to you? Because that should be rolled into that strategic plan. And, that carries a lot of weight with it when you go to the commission and say, here's what we're advising.
And having other groups come in to talk to you also is something of an assessment. When you ask them the question, what would you like us, how would you like us to support you? And that can go into your strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same.
Okay. There are a couple different ones that I'm again wanting to try to put the frame and start to assign some responsibilities. But I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 goals. Is that right? Or 5?
What you're calling a goal.
I know. Goal to become more aware of what's available in arts resources in Oregon City. Goal, establish a 5-year public art program that cares for current public art and facilitates the acquisition of new art. That's a goal. create an art strategic plan. That's a goal.
Inventory strategy, goal, increase the presence of public art. We talked about that. All right, I guess that's 4. Okay.
James, as part of the Arts Commission, would we also be responsible for trying to do things like those concerts in the park? Is that outside of our purview?
That's outside of your purview. You can support others to do that in any way you wish. You might even, if you wish, you could donate money if you'd like to do that, because you have money, but that's up to you. Obviously, you would not, I mean, you could be a sponsor of such a thing. You wouldn't, of course, do it. You wouldn't, but you can support others to do that.
So we could like do a call, say, hey, we would like to support this kind of event if an organization wants to do this at this location. Send us proposals.
You can do that. But when you do your strategic plan, and when you have such a program that you did describe, obviously you have guidelines to determine how you like to spend your resources. Now, the question is, one of the things, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but one of the things that you might want to consider in that description is that you may decide, well, if you want to be a sponsor, you want to sponsor something that's ongoing, not a one-time hit. Because a one-time hit is only a one-time hit. If you contribute to something that's ongoing, has the promise of growth, that's good investment.
Oregon City Festival of the Arts always is looking for sponsors. It's always tough to find in these times. If we were to donate or sponsor and I know anything, over 1,000 and even more if we could, Oregon City Arts Commission would be on the banner above the stage. It would be in the newspaper. We would be in every ad. We would be in every social media contact, because what they are really good at is marketing and getting it out there. And for our biggest sponsors have always been around $1,500 to $2,000, and they get the full shebang. Their name is out there on every single little thing. So
Where does that take place?
at the end of the Oregon
At the
Trail
Intuitive Center?
at the second weekend of August. We've been doing it for 5 years, and we had the best year ever last year for participation and for artist sales.
Okay. But now, my job is to help you, and to also to support you from a staff in this situation. But also my responsibility is to caution that you be careful of not being seen as a patronage organization, giving people money because you know them. You give people money based on a set of guidelines, and not because you know them. If you become patronage, you develop into a corrupt situation. So it has to be based, it has to be objective, it has to be, it has to be transparent.
But one of our goals in that case, like you kept underlining that our name would be everywhere. Okay, so maybe we want to focus on, if we do an application or a call that people can apply for, tell us how you would help communicate our efforts or promote our name somehow. Maybe that's part of the goal of us giving out money. Like
you have to decide that for yourself, and you have to decide that for yourself as you create your strategic plan. But keep in mind that you're here to support the community, not yourself. And you're here to support art in the community, not yourself. And so that's what you really have to. And then if anybody is on a group that you're giving money to, you have to excuse yourself from the vote.
I was just going to say that I would take myself out of that equation for any money to the organ because of my affiliation with it in the past and with the Guild, and just have it determined by the rest of the group if that was something that was worthwhile sponsoring.
Tammy Jo, I want to call on you in a second, but I want to suggest something as I'm hearing this conversation about responsible use of the financial resources that the Arts Commission currently has access to. A strategy being the development of a disbursement plan or grant program, or what you were saying, James. So.
And you can develop a program whereby you provide grants based on guidelines, not future.
Develop a grant program.
When I was as part of our grant program, we can include in there, the disclosure that if someone on the commission is in some way related to the organization, they'll be accusing themselves, and then also say, if they haven't been associated with the organization in, say, 5-6 years, most likely they wouldn't necessarily exclude themselves. I mean, if they were in the past, I don't know if you can necessarily hold people accountable after 10 years to an organization.
Yeah, I would have to get legal counsel on that one.
Yeah.
But it sounds reasonable what you're saying, but legal counsel has to chime in onto that. But yes, anyone, I mean, whether or not you're supporting a program or whatever support you give someone, if you're affiliated with them, it has to be disclosed.
All right, so we have about 15 minutes left, and I definitely want to at least start assigning some responsibility for one of these before the time is over. Yeah, Tammy Jo.
Yeah, I think one important goal that we haven't talked about that I feel like we're so close to saying it, but we need to establish an annual budget of how our funds will be used to achieve the goals that we are setting. So what percentage of our budget is going to be spent on the public art? What percentage of our budget is going to be spent on connecting with our community and getting to know our art assets? What percentage of the budget will be on even something as specific as murals or current public art? Or what percentage will be spent on grants or supporting community events?
But you're basically saying develop a spending plan.
Yeah, we need an annual budget, like yesterday.
Sustainable annual budget as well.
A sustainable annual budget that supports our vision and goals.
I think that should be like number one.
I have my hand up too. Can I ask a question?
Emma?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to know what the difference is between the Arts Commission and other Oregon City public agencies, like for instance, Parks and Rec. Like, part of what I've been a little confused about ever since I joined the Arts Commission is like, who's responsible for what? I mean, when I heard about the Cayuse 5 statues and the controversy around that, I was wondering like, who's in charge of that? And if arts includes music, dance, performance, like who does the concert? Because the concerts, like to me, the concert that happen every summer here in Oregon City is probably the most popular arts event I could think of that happens in the city every year is the concert. I don't remember if they happened last year because of COVID, but they were always really popular. Is that something that's under the purview of the Arts Commission, or is that Parks and Rec? And like, how do we work with other agencies in Oregon City to promote the arts? Who's doing what, and where can we help fill needs that aren't being met?
To answer your question, there are a variety of ways that you can help and partner with a variety of groups in the city. And there's no one way. Now let's take the Parks and Rec, as you mentioned. Parks and Rec, they don't put on their own activity, other people do. And when people go to the Parks and Rec department, they pay rent. If they want to rent a park, they have to pay for that. If they want to rent a pavilion, they have to pay for that. It's a rental. And then the park staff is assigned to do that based on rental. the Arts Commission in something of a partnership could actually partner with a group that's in the park, or just basically you could say, you might put out the word that you'd like to have a work of art, a proposal for a work of art to be put up in one of the parks, as an example. That could be a partnership with Parks and Rec. The statue or the sculpture you had just mentioned, what was it, the Titus 5, I think that's handled by the city manager's office. And so therefore, city government itself is responsible for putting that up. But you could perform a partnership with Parks and Rec or anyone you feel appropriate to do a certain thing. I mean, it's one defined way, but someone else usually is doing it. You're not doing it.
So similar to what we were doing with outside parties, could we do the same thing with internal departments and other commissions that we might want to partner with in the future?
Well,
Good question.
yeah. Like, Parks and Rec is one of them.
Parks and Rec, I would think Planning Commission might be one. If they're approving things in the future, we'd want them to consider making sure that public art maybe is part of that process.
You could support legislation or support initiatives for that.
And they might know some things already in the works, or things that we could help support, or ideas that they've had that they'd like more support with. Any of those groups.
I think movies in the park are always also looking for sponsorships. I mean, not movies, but the concerts.
So I would be interested in querying everybody, or like, is it more important to listen first and like fact and gather information about the needs of all of their different communities, and then create a budget based on those needs, rather than saying like, well, we want to, or do we want to tie them more closely to our goals and just say like, we want this much for public art, we want this much for community orgs, this much for May grants.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because although budgets, I mean, that's an obvious and very important step, but a budget for what? We don't even all know as a group what our assets are, or what people are doing or would like to do. So I don't see how we could make a decision now that we should put this much into public artworks and this much into, right, what?
So I think when I heard it, I do want to try to dig down into one of these before we adjourn tonight. So I'm hearing that before we can create a budget, we need to know a little bit more about the universe and about the needs of some of the other community-based partners we're going to be. We need to do that. So if we want to take, for example, we all agree that one of the goals of the Arts Commission needs to be to create an art strategic plan for this community.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's try to drill down a little bit more on that. We want to try to do that. So, measuring it's easy. We finished the plan. What's our time frame? What is a reasonable time frame to create a strategic plan like that?
I would say at a minimum 6 months, because you're going to have, if you want everyone's input, it's going to take that much time to hear from everyone.
Who's everyone?
Outside parties, internal departments, other commissions, community in general.
All right. So goal.
So was anyone else from the Arts Commission on OC 2040? I was on the OC 2040 group, and we just did it took about a year, but we basically just did what you're talking about, but we did it like for the whole city, and it was like a 20-year plan. Was anyone else from the Arts Commission on that?
I gave my input, but
Yeah, I gave
wasn't
them,
on the
but
board.
never participated on it.
What is OC 2040?
It's a strategic plan for the city for 2040.
Well, it's a comprehensive plan. You have to do one every 20 years, I believe. A comprehensive plan in terms of the city's assets, like the streets and the infrastructure, and usually a lot of infrastructure related concepts.
Yeah, if you go, it's got its own website too, OC 2040.
Okay.
Yeah, and it really, it builds even, I think, broader than what James is saying, that beyond infrastructure, it really is, what is, kind of, we're doing a visioning process for this commission, it's a visioning process almost for the whole community. Yeah.
How many people or groups did you interview over that year?
Wow, lots.
We had almost 1,000. We had almost 1,000 responses.
How did
And
that
we
work?
had-
Did you,
It's a pretty comprehensive plan. I mean, the city planner was really involved in it, and then there was an outside consulting agency that specializes in this kind of work that put it together. It's still an ongoing project, but I would definitely recommend anyone on the Arts Commission just to take a look at it to get an idea of like what a comprehensive plan for the whole city looks like and how art could fit into that.
I'll send everybody the link, but it's the 2040 webpage, and I'll send some additional documentation.
Well, I've been looking at other cities' strategic plans the last few weeks, and I can send out. Can I send this like to those documents to the group, or do I have to send them to Anne and we'll send them out? Okay.
And I do think that even if we think about the next meeting, since our time here tonight is running short, but I do think being able to understand, well, other arts commissions, what do their strategic plans look like? And, so we can start to frame up, how much time that might actually take us to do. Or like you guys were saying, there was actually a consultant for the big, OC 2040. I mean, is that something that's worthwhile if we were going to invest some of the money that we have now into developing the strategic plan? Or is that something that is guided by the state to be able to bring us, that whole thing? But
Let us back. Don't spend me on that.
well, whatever might be.
that's my advice there.
I don't really know, right? I think that there's pluses and minuses to that kind of thing. Or you could have a really nice document.
Yeah.
But
Right.
But anyway, I think being able to have information about what's in a art strategic plan, how that's different than other types of plans.
Okay.
And then that will also help us, understand how maybe these other goals that we have can kind of sort of fit into that overall strategic plan.
Makes a lot of sense.
I'll send you this. I'll try and keep them more to population control to what Oregon City is size-wise, because when you get into the bigger cities, it's about a 150-page document, right? So I don't know if we'll be able to get to that point yet, but.
Anne said she was up for doing one of those. 150 pages.
Go ahead.
And Josh has also done a lot of good research already. What I want to try to do is, I think we can create a strategic plan for this commission. It's going to take more than 6 months, though, because I think we are.
I said a minimum 6
Yeah.
months. I mean, if we're going all out on it, but I don't think we're going to get to that point. I think it's going to be at least a year.
All right, let's see.
And are you going to send plans of other art strategic plans?
Yeah, there a lot of them have online. So like Richmond, Virginia has a good one. Tacoma's is really good. I haven't read through Seattle's yet. I was looking at one, Fredericksburg, Washington, which is more kind of our city. And theirs is actually pretty good. It's not nearly as complex, but it does break it down to a very easy way to digest so that people in the community can get it and understand, okay, this is what.
And is that specifically for art, Josh?
Yep, Arts Commission, yep.
I'm going to throw it there. By Halloween, end of October.
Oh, that's nice.
Sure.
A little more than 6 months? 6, 8 months. Yeah, a little more than 6 months. But I don't want to say a year, because then you're like, oh, we get a year.
Concluded in a Halloween party?
I would suggest that
I'm just throwing that out there. You guys?
we can start with kind of initial review of others and then start outlining as we're going through the process of meeting with other people. And as we go, we can kind of fill in, because there's lots of parts of these that are more just wordy, that you have to put in a bunch of kind of, I want to say fluff, but to build the picture around it, and then you get into the detail part of it is only a portion of it, right? The strategic part. So we can get to that and but go through the other parts now.
But I mean, I would, again, really encourage you to while you're doing that, make sure you look at OC 2040 because that's our community and it's what our community said they wanted for our future. And so it's actually a great way for this new arts commission to plug into a lot of really hard work that the city's already just done about these issues and these values that we want to have. And a lot of what they said really like echoes what this group just said in its first 4 vision statements at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, and I looked at the tourism one as well, because tourism has its own strategic plan that, we've given that part of our goal here is to increase tourism through the arts.
That could be a goal.
Tammy Jo, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to add that as far as looking at the strategic plan for the cities is great, but there's also some of these reports that are art economy specific, things like, let's see if I can get the name right, Arts and Economic Prosperity Report that the Oregon Arts Commission does. There's state-of-the-art reports that happen in different regions throughout Oregon, and I think some of these will be helpful to look at because they're art specific and they're Oregon specific to our communities that will be more reflective of who we are in Oregon City. So I think looking at some of those will be useful.
Okay. That is good. So got a tentative deadline for creating a strategic plan that's art specific by the end of October. And part of the reason we take that time is because we're going to be meeting with and doing a little bit of the strategy of developing an inventory and meeting with other organizations. Organizations are including arts organizations as assets in the city. So that's some of that work. Woo!
Do we need to decide on the next meeting if we're going to meet in February or not?
Yeah, and I also want to drill in a little bit who's going to help do what. I was enthusiastically raising your hand to help, but I think that we need to understand the role that the commissioners can play in that too. Yeah.
Is there some way for us to communicate with each other in between meetings that doesn't violate city charters? Because I feel like that's been a real weakness of our process so far.
You can't make decisions outside of this kind of forum. You can talk to one another one-on-one, but no more than that. It has to be one-on-one conversation, and it really shouldn't be a situation where you're sending back emails back and forth. You have to be extremely careful, and that's one of the frustrating things. And I have to admit, that's one of the frustrating things about this kind of situations. They're very formal. For the public, you do have public, open law policy. You have to conform to those. So you really can't sort of come together and sort of have a discussion offline. That's a no-no, and it's not legal.
But can you do that one-on-one?
You can do that one-on-one.
And if we happen to end up at Arts Festival together, just don't talk about
You don't
this
talk
stuff.
about it.
Just talk.
You don't talk about Fight Club.
Together. You don't talk about Fight Club.
You don't talk business. You don't make decisions. You don't strategize. You don't do any of that stuff.
So for the strategic plan, I'm happy to throw my hand up as volunteering to help start the penning process and have something, maybe we can start looking at the next meeting.
Great. Does anybody here have experience with budgets and would like to, would you want to?
I'm happy to do that as well. I do nonprofit budgets all the time, so.
But why-
I think
how-
that's a good start.
Can
But
everybody
how
just
do
go,
we do
"Woo,
budget
woo, shut up."
when we don't? I thought we were going to do the art strategic plan first, so that we could.
Oh, I thought a budget was a part of that. I thought a budget would have to be a part of the strategic.
Yeah, and I think eventually it will be. I don't know
Yeah.
That'll be the first part we get to, though. I think a lot of the first parts will be taking the vision statement, mission statement, confirming those, putting them in, putting the bones together, if you would, of the document. Here's the parts that we're gonna have to fill in. And then the other big thing is arranging the meetings with, who do we want to meet with first? Are there other groups that we aren't on your list that we want to add? How do we qualify who we want to meet with?
So if
First.
one member of this commission wanted to start a list of group of folks you might want to invite. You've already mentioned a bunch of industrial.
Yeah, I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have 6 different organizations here.
Yeah, so maybe we decide that I don't want to.
I would recommend we invite Parks and Rec. They do a lot of art-based programming already.
That's a
It
good.
would be really good to have a conversation with Parks and Rec.
So the process that you could use is in deciding who you want to invite, you let staff know, staff sends out a letter under your letterhead. And you can sign the letter if you like, inviting different groups to come before you and have a discussion about what they're doing, that kind of thing. That's usually the process. I also would usually say that usually staff does what you want to do. Usually, because the planning commission would never do what you just said. They would rely on staff to do those kind of things. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. That's a choice you make.
Yeah, I'll have to work with Ann and stuff, but I just, in terms of, we're wanting to get this done by October, we're gonna have to move. So I'm happy to, throw some time into it.
And also keep in mind that we're hiring a tourism program specialist, which will be assigned to this group and is standing in. She is the economic development coordinator. She works closer with me on economic development matters. But the tourism program specialist will work with you and will be your staff assignment, assigned to you. That's how it's structured.
Can I ask where you're at in the process of that, of hiring someone? Have you already submitted a?
Well, we have interviews next week.
Oh, okay. I was going to suggest that if not, we may make a recommendation that does include additional arts scope, but it sounds like it's already going to do some of that and then already too far in the process.
Yeah, it's already too far.
Last decision for the night before I get to
I didn't take that much.
I would also recommend inviting someone from the OC 2040 planning group to come and give a presentation on how our unique vision of the arts could fit into the OC 2040 comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea.
I mean, would we want to have one meeting and give an invitation to 10 organizations and say, can you come in and give us a 10-minute presentation on how, I mean, what does everybody see as a good
I think
process?
given where we are in the time tonight, I'm wondering if we can use the next meeting to really brainstorm a list of number of the groups that we'd love to invite, and then the parameters of what we're asking them to say or present on, and really focus and put some structure around it so that we're clear about what it is that we're trying to do.
Right, I love that idea.
I would make a slight counter to that. I think the 2040 plan people would be we should be with regardless, so maybe just to make sure we have one on the agenda next time, them, and then do the rest after that. That way, at least we feel like we're moving the needle a little bit as well.
And they
So we
might
know
have ideas as to how
Yeah.
we do structure and interview
who
people.
are the other parts that they've talked to that we might want to talk to as well.
Emma, do you know somebody from OC 2040 that you could contact or who we would contact for that?
Sure. I mean, I'll ask. It's a project. I mean, I'm sure that James and Ann would also, because it was a city project, so they could probably get us the right person.
It's a planning staff.
Okay. So who could you contact them first, James? Okay.
They would attend our next meeting, is that the
Well,
plan?
they could attend whatever meeting, which meeting you want, but you said you wanted to develop some type of,
I was thinking just giving ourselves some time to put some clarity around it, but then he was suggesting that maybe the next one we just have the 2020 people come, and then beyond that we work on our list.
I think that makes sense.
yeah, we can do that, yeah.
When do you want to meet next? Want to go ahead and schedule time for February?
What the bylaw says,
At least once a quarter. At least once a quarter, what we agreed to.
yes, but when you do meet, it's usually on the
Like a third Thursday.
second.
The 17th, yeah.
Does that work for folks?
February 17th?
Yeah.
It's a Thursday?
Will we be meeting in person or over Zoom?
Well, I don't know. Why don't we assume Zoom for now? And then if things look,
We don't want the group one.
I'd be happy to meet in person, I think. I've gotten a lot out of us being in meetings here, but whatever people are comfortable with.
I personally get more out of being in person than trying to through Zoom.
yeah.
I like the hybrid option because so many people are getting COVID lately.
Mm-hmm.
I tested myself before I came today because I was concerned. So having that flexibility might be helpful to us.
I agree. I would prefer the hybrid option. I know in my life I've gone both ways for our last two, so it would be nice to have that option.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We actually did get a lot done tonight. We went through a lot of material. I feel like we're making some important corrections in getting the street plan organized. We've got some specific goals identified. So thank you. I think we got a lot done tonight. And thanks to Tammy and Emma on Zoom.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I ask one more question, just process-wise? Do we have to give a report out, like a standard report out to the commission on a regular basis, and do we know when that is? And no? Okay. Just want to make sure that they're not like, oh, we gotta talk to them in March. And be like,
So we should
Not ready.
think about getting on the agenda at some point.
At some point.
Maybe when the
Okay,
strategic plan is done.
but it's something we can.
And thank you.
If we're done by
And thank you to the Willamette. And also thank you to the Willamette Falls Media Center. Thank you to them.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
No, you don't need to know.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.